Ah, great. I had to do this whole damn video over. So clearly, as you can see, here we have the autism ribbon. I have Asperger's, which is, now they call it ASD, autism spectrum disorder, which I don't like that it's all put in together. I'm sorry, I'm so flustered because I just poured my heart out, and now I have to do it all over again because I muted my ass. So, please bear with me because I do have PTSD. Well, no, I don't. We're gonna get into that. I do have mild autism. And when I was growing up, it was called Asperger's. So let's start from the very beginning. Oh boy. So, sorry, I forgot to mute my vaping. My bad. I'll try to remember. So when I first, I think right off the bat, when you know your child is autistic, there's signs very soon after birth. For me, it was a little longer. I was diagnosed I think it started in 4th grade. It started with me having trouble with fire drills. I couldn't handle them. I mean, I was literally in my teacher's cleavage crying. And I know nowadays people say, ew, that teacher should have been No, it wasn't like that. No, it was just she had young children herself at the time, and she was just very, very, very professional, but also very Mother Goose kind of thing. Very protective. And when she and the other staff started noticing the problems, and she and my mother actually told I asked her, why don't you like this teacher? I like her. And I say, no, what's the okay? She told me off when you were in her class, and I'm like, what are you talking? And she explained, I guess she sent home a letter with me to my mother because I was not doing my homework. I was not. So when I didn't bring a little story time, when I didn't bring in my homework, I would get these things called pink slips. 4 pink slips, and you had to stay in class during recess and have to work with the teacher. I literally had about 14 one time. 14 pink slips, and like, just her face was like, what the fuck is going on? So, and then, I don't know, there must have been some kind of meeting because, especially after me freaking out and literally, like, I was buried in her, just, I have to make it absolutely clear. It's nothing SA or anything. Absolutely not. It's just that's how it was. Teachers were allowed to comfort children. Now because of what Mary Kay Letourneau and all these other teachers hopping in bed with each other. Ugh. Can't do that anymore. But she, like I said, she was very... So after that, I started getting help. And then because I absolute shit on tests. Hold on, pause. So I started getting the aids. Another lovely woman. Very kind, very caring. I started getting extra in class help. And I started to do much better. That was the autism and ADHD why I was absolute shite in class. I was still shite because I didn't have, eventually, my type of medication for my ADHD. I wasn't allowed, my mother wouldn't let me take it anymore. And that was the first worst mistake she could make. Oh well. Attention in class was absolutely, forget it. So yeah, eventually, it was called resource instead of special ed. And I did real good in those. It really helps me when I have very caring people. You know, these teachers were excellent. I mean, they should have got awards for me. It was pretty bad. Now, up until grade 7, when 9/11 happened, yeah, that screwed everything up. I started not coming to classes anymore. I drew a picture for my teacher one time. It was the World Trade Center, and I was poking at it with my pen, you know, going boom, 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 and drawing coffins all over it, all over the picture. And I handed it to my teacher, my resource teacher, and she goes, "Yep, okay, come with me." And we went down to the school psychologist. And I don't know. But I was still pretty messed up. They did their best. And I got better a little bit. The one thing you do not do with a child with autism is rip them from their cozy space without. I mean, you wouldn't just bring home a baby from the hospital to an unsuspecting sibling, would you? Of course not. You would, "Hey, Junior, we're having a new baby, and that doesn't mean we don't love you any less, but we are having a new baby. You're gonna be a big brother, and That's that. Literally a week before I was supposed to start 8th grade, my mother says, okay, that's it. We're moving to your brother Jimmy's condo in Stratford. It was so sudden that I was still on the roster for Shelton Public Schools. Sorry, I forgot to mute. You see, Rosie, this is because now I have to start talking about why I at least suspect I have PTSD and what having autism is all about. I'm starting to stutter and get a little nervous. Where were we? Yeah, I was still on the roster for school. My friends were calling saying, hey, are you ditching school or something? And I go, no, what are you talking about? We moved. And they go, no, you're literally, the homeroom teacher keeps asking. And I'm like, dude, I'm literally in another town now. My mother didn't even bother to tell Shelton Public Schools we moved. Salt in the wounds. Lemon juice in the wounds. Eighth grade was shit. I barely went there either. And then the teachers at Stratford Public School said that's it. We can't take it anymore with the truancy. And my mother had me put in the special ed school, where it trained my brain to feel like I was an absolute retard. I know people don't like that word, but for history's sake, that's what it was called, and that's what I grew up with, and that's the word it's called. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. That's how I feel, and that's the word I chose. Until I had to prove myself, and I went with the kids that all had police records. I should have never been put in that school. And years later, my mom said, I'm really sorry I didn't listen. You need to listen. People need to listen to their children. And it just rewired my brain that I was a terrible retard. And then I started getting my quote-unquote PTSD. So, when I was in 10th grade, I forget what the assignment was, but I had to look up 9/11, and that's when I had my first absolute breakdown. And the teacher was so kind, I'm sorry, I didn't know, and I ditched there too. like I said, very charming, not charming, nice, just nice, very common understanding. And so, yeah, pretty much I haven't been in school since 7th grade. I used to have perfect attendance until that day happened. So, I was diagnosed officially by one person, and I'll tell you about the day I went down to apply for medical marijuana. So, we couldn't find this building where I had to go because I suspected I had PTSD. I had horrible nightmares. Nightmares you wouldn't. When I have these dreams, I feel like I just wake up from comas. They're like thick stew, these dreams. I would, if the world was going to hell more than it is these days, I would sleep right through it. And then I feel like I have the world's worst hangover when I wake up. It's just like someone strapped me to the bed and held me down. It's so thick, these nightmares that I have. Another thing about PTSD, and sorry, a lot of you will not like what I'm about to say. I absolutely detest Muslims. And it's not for no reason. It's Al-Qaeda should have kept their mouth shut and not taken responsibility for it, because it's not all terrorism Muslims' fault. Bush hired them. He had, I don't know, the CIA or something put charges in the World Trade Center, and down it went. And then told Osama bin Laden's family, get the hell out of the country. My opinion, of course. I mean, there used to be videos where you could actually see the flashes of light, the charges going off in the base of the World Trade Center. No building goes down that clean without controlled demolition. It just doesn't happen. Sorry. If that went down the way it should have, they'd be finding pieces of the buildings in Spain. I dropped a plate one time. It shattered so completely. I was finding pieces 20 feet away. Simple plate. And buildings not blocks away going down the same. No. That weren't even hit. No. Sorry about that. Back to my story. So, and then, because of what happened, I'm very untrusting. And it, for good measure, because their religion, if you read a real Arabic Quran, not the Disney version that is given out in America, the real Quran says, kill the infidels and only spare them if they say Allah, la, la, li, la, la, whatever the thing is. then you're spared. Only when you profess that there is no God but Allah. My faith, if they don't want to hear it, leave. Leave them be. When they came for Osama bin Laden, he used a woman for a shield. Charming man. Sorry. And once again, this is all signs of PTSD. I mean, if I was let's see. If I survived a plane crash, I'd probably hate planes. It's let's put it that way, okay? So when I was trying to go for my medical because I suspected I had PTSD because of 9/11, we parked. My mother and I parked, and we were trying to find this building, and all of a sudden, the surroundings started turning into Central Park in New York. You know, that area. And I started sweating and wringing my hands and getting nervous, and I turn around, and all I saw were World Trade Centers. The two buildings, the Twin Towers everywhere. I started punching my mother. We gotta find this fucking building. We have to find it. I can't take it. I can't take it. When we finally find the building and we go upstairs, I was so worked up. I was the first one in, and I hid in a corner, and I go, the buildings are everywhere. The Twin Towers are everywhere. And I'm like, the nurse there takes out her notepad and goes, okay, PTSD non-military. Okay, dear, you're going to go into this room right here, and someone will be right with you. That's PTSD. If you are trying to get what's called ass pads or back pads or whatever pads, you don't want PTSD. Trust me, you don't want anything to do with even possibly having the diagnosis. If you do not have it, and you're trying to pretend like you do, shame on you. Absolutely disgusting. I was only ever diagnosed one time because I don't qualify for it, because I saw on television, on live television. I saw a man throw himself out of a building head first in a chair. Live television. And I guess just before he hit the ground, they're panning over to Giuliani crying like a little baby. I guess Jimmy didn't get the job. He had a job interview that morning. I guess he didn't get the job at the World Trade. Excuse me. Anyways, It's the reason, that day is the reason why Donna Summer's not alive anymore. Because she, when the buildings collapsed, the debris went right into her air conditioner, and excuse me, and just like when everyone else was coded, a lot of them died. I'm terrified to go to bed sometimes because I don't like to see those images, people screaming. Because I saw everything on television, I can't be properly diagnosed because I wasn't down there. Even my hardest critic, who kept saying, no, it's your Asperger's that's causing you all these problems, and then he was a good therapist, and then I said, look, I saw this episode of one of those, like, crime shows, and I told him, and I explained the episode to him. They were, in the episode, parents of this woman who was getting essayed in the video. Father had a heart attack and died from shock from what they showed. And I said, look, if you got a video of them doing that to your daughter, tell me you wouldn't get PTSD. And he did the thinking with the cupping both index fingers on the thinking, and he goes, and he thinks, after telling me for months you don't have PTSD, it's your Asperger's, he goes, yeah, I see where you're coming. Yeah, I see, yeah. Damn these fucking DSM books, or whatever the fuck it's called. It's ruining me. The only time I ever wanted to be diagnosed with anything bad was because if I was diagnosed, I can get medication or proper treatment. So I only ever wanted MS and PTSD because I had already had the symptoms. I might be lazy. I might be 100 pounds overweight. But I don't like being a fat idiot. You don't want, if you truly do not have PTSD or Asperger's, God bless you, you made it. Now go get a job. I'm sorry if this video was all over the place, but that's what happens when, I know plenty of people with the actual diagnosis of PTSD, and they say that is 100% what PTSD is. I've had people that have gone to war tell me, no, that's PTSD. That's absolutely PTSD. But because I saw it through a 15-inch screen at school, I can't get it. You young ladies need to prioritize living, please. All you are is fat slobs, in my opinion. Stop shoveling the food in like you're cows with 2 stomachs. And go get a job. Go for a walk and go get a job. Good night, all.